Hey everyone, sorry I haven't been posting videos lately. I've been kind of busy at work with some deadlines, and I've also been applying to tech conferences. Which brings me to another exciting piece of news is that I got accepted to speak at a tech conference. The conference is called All Things Open, and you should definitely check that out. I'll link it down below, and I'm so excited. So today what I'll be talking about is creating technical content, some reasons why I do it and perhaps why you should as well, and also some tips about creating this content as well as distributing it. So there's different ways to create technical content. Some of the more popular ways are through writing blog posts, maybe, creating videos like I am right now, or also speaking at tech conferences, and those were three that I thought of. So why should you create technical content, or here's some reasons why I do. Of course, not everyone should, because maybe they're just really constricted with time, but if you can, here are some reasons. The first thing that I would say is definitely it gives me a sense of job security. And I'm not saying that I feel like my job is on the line right now with my employer. Far from it. I'm just saying, like, if God forbid something happens with my employer, or down the line I'm looking for new opportunities or something like that in the future, then I'm kind of like out there and have this platform for people to reach out to me with different suggestions or opportunities that they might have. Another reason why I produce technical content is because it gives me credibility in my own domain. So what I mean by this is that the content you produce will kind of attract a network of people that, do similar things. So I work in infrastructure, open source with Go, containers, orchestration, things like that. And I really want to build credibility in my knowledge, and when I say things, for people to trust me and for people to take my advice. So creating technical content for other people to follow definitely helps build up that credibility. Creating technical content also helps me learn the material better, if that makes sense. So when you're just sort of learning things, you don't realize it, but you have a very superficial understanding of what you know. When you have to kind of formalize it and explain to other people and teach other people about your problems, about some sort of computer science theory, you have to be very articulate and explain it in a way that other people understand. And in that process, you also then kind of iron out the things that your knowledge is really shaky on, and you have to clarify more on some of the gaps in your knowledge. Another reason why I create technical content is because I want to be justly attributed for my work. No situation has ever happened with my employers or anything, but there was a situation in college where I did some things, didn't really tell anyone about it, and other people took the credit for my work. And since then, I've just sort of been publicizing things I know, things I've created, so that people understand who did these things. And I'm not saying that you'll ever come across these situations, but just leaving receipts online of your knowledge of things you did, I just think is always a good thing, and just a habit that I've sort of gotten into. And lastly, of course, helping people always feels good. I love when people have read the things that I've written or seen one of the YouTube videos and said, hey, I came across that same problem, or hey, I had that same confusion. Your blog post or video really helps me a lot, and that always feels good inside. So hopefully those reasons helped convince you that you should also produce some technical content if you have the time, of course. Here are some tips on how to produce this content, or things to think about when you're producing this content. So the first thing that I would say is, and it's one of my favorite quotes, is that perfection is the enemy of good. So what does this mean? A lot of people, when they produce something online and they publish it, they're sort of like fixated with perfection, and then they hold off creating, they hold off sharing this content or creating the content in the first place because they're being really nitpicky about their work. I'm not saying produce like crappy quality content, but I'm saying like if it's gotten to a point that it's good enough, just publish the work. The more content you create, the better that you'll get, and you shouldn't be afraid of mistakes because one, if it's a blog post, it's so easy to edit. If it's a video, you can write a blurb on what you really meant. If it was a conference talk, like no one really cares probably, and if they point it out, you can like clarify it on your Twitter when they try to like ask you to like clarify the mistake that you made. It's really not as big of a deal as you think. And again, just creating more content will give you the practice you need to create even better content. So just push it out there and don't be too nitpicky about the stuff that you first create. Another suggestion is to take notes while you're learning new things. This definitely gives me so many ideas of things to write about. Like, there's so many issues I came across during work or in college about about things that I've been learning, and I've just written it all down, and it's just given me endless amounts of ideas for things to write about. And also kind of like having that mindset and remembering like the same issues that you came across is really important, because there's no way that you're the only person experiencing these things. Something else that I would say is that the problem you come across doesn't need to be original, in the sense that like if you've seen other people write about the problem, that shouldn't deter you from writing about it as well. I strongly believe that having different perspectives on the same problem or the same, computer science theory topic is really valuable, because explaining things in different ways, will click with someone differently. And like, you shouldn't be worried that the content is already out there. Obviously don't plagiarize things, but the problem itself doesn't need to be original, and your perspective is super valuable. And the last thing about this topic that I would say is that your problem doesn't need to be hard. So I'll bring up a specific example. I was talking to one of my friends about creating videos about being a software engineer, and he's like, oh, that's so awesome, I wish that I could do this too, but there's no problems that I've come across that were hard enough to be worth it to create a video about or write a blog post about. And I asked him to explain the problem, and I was like, I don't know how to solve that, you should totally write about it. The problems that you write about don't need to be complicated, it just needs to be a problem that you come across. And like, I promise you that other people will have come across it as well. And it's always interesting to see kind of your mindset about how you came across this obstacle. The next set of tips that I would like to give is about content distribution, and this is for people who specifically want to build an audience and how you can go about doing that. So the first thing that I would say is know your audience, know the audience that you're targeting for the content that you're creating. So an example is like, let's say you're writing about containers. So definitely target the different verticals of perhaps interests that that you want your audience to engage in. So some examples are people who are in infrastructure, obviously other people who work with containers, other people who work in container orchestration, people who work with cloud native things, and the different mediums, I guess, that you can target these people are through Facebook groups or through Slack communities, even more specific, Slack channels, through Twitter. You can definitely ask your friends who are in those specific industries to help you signal boost your content and retweet the things that you've created. And curating this audience is really important because it will kind of distribute the content to the people that you want it to reach and help grow your audience in the way that you want. And lastly, what I want to say is that not all audiences are great. So what I mean by this is that like you shouldn't be afraid to deter people from consuming your content. And what I mean, like to further explain what I mean by this is that some people are not exactly the most constructive people. Like when they give criticism, there's like, it's not even criticism, it's just kind of like hate spewed at you. Don't be afraid to say like, look, there's so much other content that you can be consuming. You don't need to come to my channel and you're not an audience member that I want. Kind of distancing yourself from these people will help you produce a healthier audience and just a healthier relationship with the content that you create. Like you don't want to be like, I don't want to push out this content and deal with this person because I know that they'll come back with some sort of like haterade, you know. So don't be afraid to say like, look, you're perhaps not someone that I want to be consuming my content. Please step away respectively. Thank you so much for watching my videos once again. And again, sorry for not producing as much regular content. I'll try to get on a more regular schedule, but I also have to balance a full-time job. If you enjoyed my video, please go and subscribe to my channel. Something new is that I've also created a Patreon for those of you who find my content valuable. All my social media links are linked down below. You can follow me on Twitter at TheAmyCode as well as on Instagram. Thanks so much and see you next time. Bye!